Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you and many more.
Happy birthday, John.
Okay, John, happy birthday to you. I'm turning 50 a few years back, and I remember. You'll enjoy it. See you later, Stan.
Hi, John. Happy birthday. This is Donna Thompson. I remember so many things about you, but I don't know any words of wisdom about being 50. That was so long ago I can't remember it. But I do remember your mom and Hazel Campen used to take my boys in when they needed to stay after school for different things, and I really, really appreciated it. And I do remember one time in California, you and Tolliff and Toke went camping, and Toke fell down a hill and broke his leg, and Tolliff went scrambling up the hill, as he, like Tolliff would, crashing into trees. It was dark. He got up to the top, and he found a policeman. He flagged him down. My brother's down the hill, and he broke his leg, and they had medics come down. When they got to the bottom of the hill, you had very calmly wrapped up and bandaged Toke's leg, and one of the guys said, "How did you learn to do that?" And very calmly you said, "Oh, I learned that in the Scouts." So anyway, that's my memory of you, John. Happy birthday.
Okay, so I guess this is for John on his big 50. That's the half a century mark, just to get this in perspective. Half of a century. And I've been asked to give a few video comments, stories from the elder days, dating back in the far reaches of memory. For me, certainly, probably for John as well. I thought of a few. One was, of course, pretty early on. We were all playing D&D. Debbie was there. I believe Rob was there, of course. Tolliff, me, Joe Bartos, probably Steve Tatungi, a few others besides. And we'd done this many, many times at Rob's cabin. That was the gathering place. He was the only friend we knew at the cabin. And played D&D, and John, the Dungeon Master, always John, the Dungeon Master, had decided that we were all too lazy, and so he took out some fireworks and lit them on fire in the middle of Rob's cabin. These things took off in all directions. Rob's papers, Rob's clothes. It woke us up. It did the trick, I have to admit. As a Dungeon Master, it was a very unexpected and effective maneuver. So thank you, John, for that. And that is definitely one for the memory books. Even as they start failing, definitely one for the memory books. Other stories about John, I have so many, it's hard to know where to start. So I'll try to tell the ones that are somewhat presentable and decent company. One was, of course, when John, I think, saved my life personally. That was when we were, me and John and Tolliff, one of our many adventures, one of our many camping expeditions. We were in the middle of Kings County Forest outside of Fresno, and I took a fall. I made a jump, and I didn't quite make it. Wrapped my trees around a leg, got them caught between a branch, and snapped my femur before I fell all the way about 25 feet down. John immediately put traction on while Tolliff ran for help through the wilderness. So that was a big something I owe him, a big debt I owe him. I really think he saved my life and at least my leg during that point in time. And he had to endure my poor sense of humor for the next couple of hours before help came. So thanks, John, for saving my life. I'm really grateful to be here, and I appreciate it. Then I could also talk about the time that John almost cost me my life. I got a few of those. I'll try to keep it down to one. We were driving back from Anchorage. I just made the biggest purchase of my young adult career, a stereo system. I mean, a real stereo system. I think I spent like $400 on it. It had a receiver that could pick up Anchorage stations with an external antenna that I could run up a tree. Had a record player. There was an actual record player, with the little adjustment on the knob on the needle bar. Very important part of the device. Anyway, so I just purchased this. We had a big blowout time in Anchorage, as per usual. There were a couple of cars going back. In this particular car, there was John in the driver's seat, Joe Bartos in the passenger seat, and me in the back seat, and then my stereo system kind of over here. We were driving in the John method, which is to say, sort of reckless, frankly, reckless. I fast, usually under control, but this time there were particular icy conditions, little iciness on the road, little black ice, as we say in Alaska. And we were coming down the Turnagain Arm, and we hit that one big curve on the Turnagain Arm, you know, and there were cars coming and here, and I couldn't really see anything because I had this big box, my stereo system right here. But I just remember the car sort of, you know, I think John applied the brakes, unfortunately, and the car just sort of left the road. Now, most of the time along the Turnagain Arm, there was a big rock wall right there, and we were traveling, you know, okay, in more than legal speed by a fair amount, I will have to say. So I kind of thought, I remember thinking to myself, well, that's it. I always thought I'd live a little longer. And I was only, I think, 17 at this point. And I remember just having time to think that, and then sort of experience this thought over a long floating period where the car seemed to float in the air. And what had actually happened is they'd been doing some construction that blasted out a certain part of the road. So luckily enough, when we took off into the air from the highway, we just floated in sort of suspended animation across space and certainly on time. And I remember John kind of cranking the wheel, but of course nothing really happened because we weren't on a road, we were in the air. And then at the last minute, and then I began to see the rock wall kind of coming toward us, and that's where it really, when the car, hit the ground, and John, because he'd already cranked the wheel, spun out the car right before the rock wall, we rocked back and forth, and the trunk actually flew open in the car, and Toloff, my brother's stereo, flew out of the trunk of the car where it had been packed, smashed against the rock wall, and came back in smithereens. That's how close we were. And then me and Joe and John all got out of the car, realized we were okay, really. And we all started like hugging each other and jumping up and down. And I remember Joe going, yeah, we're alive, we're alive, we're alive. And all the other cars on the highway had slowed down to witness this. But we didn't care. We were still like going, we're alive, we're alive. So there you go. John, happy birthday. Happy big 5-0. I'll catch up with you someday. I keep saying that. I keep working at it. But anyway, those are just 3 of my many, many adventures with John Shaw. I could go on, of course, you know, waking up covered with 4 feet of snow, losing our way in the dark of night when the GPS is too cold to actually work. I could go on. Rock and roll shows. Expeditions into the interior of our psychic consciousness. I could talk about those, but I'll probably stick with those 3. And John, may this be a reminder to all the many adventures we had in this world and a few other ones. And here's to another 50 years, buddy, of such adventures. I look forward to them already.
John Shaw! Insane driver of hard bargains and gold-plated magic. Fire-breathing glass master and all-around good guy. Smart as hell and just as well, if you take into account all the variables.
Crazy, funny, happy-go-lucky, and a bunch of other words and in.
Why? Dude, he's like, so intense. No pretense, no bullshit, just 100% John Shaw. He flew us down for the best wedding and reception ever. Thanks, John. He thinks a tie goes around his head. The tie heads! The tie heads are coming! Boat building baseball fan. You know that John Shaw, he is one Cadillac driving, beer drinking, leg breaking, leg saving, dungeon master, son of a bitch music blaster I ever met in my life. Ain't that right, boy? Yeah, that's right, isn't it? Yeah. Record collecting, company making, friend among friends. Okay, doggies, let's go for a ride. Come on. You gotta go. Come on, me. Come on. Ready, let's go. Ready, ready. Hang on. Yes. Oh, no. Hang on. All right. Ready? John Shaw, whose generosity and creativity knows no bounds. Okay, I'm done. Thanks for being my friend all these years, John, and happy 50th. We done yet?
Yeah, we're done.
Okay, can you come back in 5 minutes?